Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fringe Coverage. This podcast profiles the stories, swings, and stars of the LPGA Tour. And whether you're new to women's golf or a longtime fan, hopefully this podcast helps you develop your own rooting interest in women's professional golf. And fresh off the golf course, Tom, I'm talking about you and I played around yesterday, and we just wrapped up the fourth major of the year, the Amundi Evian Championship. Haeran Yu wins again. We now live in a world where you and Nelly have two majors. And yes, I mean Haeran Yu, not you, Tom. Tom, how are you today?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm doing great, man. Nice seeing you yesterday. I was just thinking, where did Haeran Yu start the season on the Rolex rankings? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Yeah, I think she was 13th.
Wow. Quite the ascension. I mean, might be saying something about my knowledge. Like, I had never heard of her until her first major, and now all of a sudden she's just like, going to be a household name in the LPGA world, which is really cool.
So, I mean, going into KPMG, I think she was 12th. So she's raised 9 spots in 2 weeks, which you know how hard it is to climb once you get into that top 10. Like, you got to do a lot to jockey. And there was actually quite a bit of up and down movement in the top 10. I was just looking right now. Haeran is now third, knocking down Hyoju and Lottie a spot. Miyu climbed two spots. She had a really nice top 5 we'll talk about. Charlie and Ronnie both dropped 2 shots. Hannah stayed steady at 9, and Seyoung Kim is bringing up the rear of the top 10. And Lydia and Minji Lee are the first 2 out. But yeah, it was, you and I were actually teeing off as the playoff was starting yesterday. So I woke up early yesterday. Actually I did 4:00 viewing on Saturday and Sunday, Tom, and 5:00 viewing on Thursday and Friday. So got some good competitive reps in, watched a lot of morning golf. It was a little too early for coffee, because if I make coffee, it'll wake my girls up. So I was just raw dogging, watching golf that early in the morning. I don't even know where to start, because obviously we want to talk about Haeran, I want to talk about the course. Where do you want to start?
So, I mean, what I want to start is her incredible third round, because that's what really just stood out for me. I think my clip of the whole weekend was like her reviewing her card after she finished, because I mean, I know that sometimes I have issues keeping track of my strokes, as you saw yesterday. Like, I'll finish a hole and I'll go, what did I just score on that? And I have to kind of stop and figure things out. But to not even know your overall score when you're just absolutely flaming people is just, that's another level for me. I am, never been keeping it that low where I'm able to kind of go, oh yeah, I'm 1 under, I'm 2 under, something like that. But just the look of disbelief to go I did what? That's got to be an amazing deal.
For those of you that didn't see it, there is truly a clip going around of Haeran counting strokes, I think on the 17th or 18th tee, and realizing for the first time how low she was. I mean, and you could see the shock on her face. Kudos to the broadcast team for catching that moment, because usually you feel like you find out afterwards. Someone's like, oh yeah, I was looking at my card and I didn't realize how low I was. Like, we actually got to see it live. It also made me realize, you mentioned yesterday, you know how much easier it must be to keep score when you're just a bad hole's a par? Think about how often you and I are doing the one in the trap, out of the trap, ping pong to the other side, and we're having to count every hole. It must be such a more simple, less stressful process to keep your score when you're a professional golfer and your variance is between a birdie and a bogey.
Yeah. And when I keep score, I don't do 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 4. I do over and under the pars. I don't know why. That's just kind of how I've always done it. And then, when you're playing with somebody who gets a 10, you go, oh, that's helpful, because I could just, add 10 or add 5, something like that. But to be able to just have these small numbers. I mean, I'm really good at adding small numbers. That's great.
Well, and so you mentioned it. She ends up shooting 60. She was on 59 watch, which, man, you're going into a par 5 18th on 59 watch. What else could you ask for? Ladies and gentlemen, that 60 is the best round ever in women's professional golf major history. Not at the Evian, not for Haeran, for the history of women's golf at any major. No one has ever shot 11 under. That is unbelievable stuff to pull off, coming off a week where you just won your first career major.
So she, as we just said, she didn't know what she was shooting. Do you think she would have done anything differently?
she obviously was doing something right by not knowing how low she was going. I worry for her as if she starts trying to do something cute to try to get that number. It's different when you're on 59 watch if you're on a regular run-of-the-mill regular season tournament. If it's a major, like you're still competing for a major and that score is kind of secondary. We'd already had 2 days of individuals going low. Aki went low round one, shot 8 under to have the first round lead. Lottie came out and shot 7 under the next day to get to 11 under for the tournament. So she was the second round leader. And we're starting to see some low scores, and you know how I kind of have some mixed feelings about that. Well, let's get ahead of this now. The conditions were ideal at Evian. They were not. It was not blowing, which is why you see 18, 19 under winning this golf tournament. There just was the course can only put up so much of a fight on its own. Conditions are where that it was hot, but I think the players actually like that to some degree. So. Did not see a 60 out there. I think if you asked her competitors, they didn't see a 60 either. It was just an absolutely historic, memorable round of golf that I got to see the back nine of. I would have loved to have seen that front nine, because I think that's when you get out early like she did, you're like, oh man, this round could be crazy.
And this goes back to something that we've talked about in the past where, personally, do you like to know what your score is at the break? Because I golfed again on Friday, and the guy I was playing with, he goes, "Do you want to know what you're shooting now?" And I said, "Sure," but sometimes if I know that I'm not doing that well, I just go, "No, I don't want to." That's just going to get me upset. But again, she didn't even know what she was shooting, so I assume that some golfers like it that way, and some would prefer to know like every single hole where they stand in relation to the par.
Pretending for a second that we were both professional tour golfers, I would think I'd be a leaderboard watcher. I wish that wasn't true, but I think just knowing my obsessive tendencies, I think I'd want to know exactly where I am, because I overanalyze stuff. I think probably the best advice for me would be not to be a leaderboard watcher, but I know myself well enough that like I'm going to have wandering eyes and try to find it. Well, let's holster the discussion about whether we want to know our scores as amateurs, because I think that fits in well when we do a little bit at the end. If you guys want to stick around and hear how we played. Or pieces of how we played yesterday. We'll do that at the back half of this episode, because
I might not be sticking around for that.
Yeah, you do get in your head a little bit when the score goes sideways. So we may have some advice for each other on whether we should have knowledge of our scores or not. But I think the short version is I'm always keeping score, so I always know.
Yeah, same.
So I can't really avoid it. So we mentioned that on Saturday Haeran shoots 60, and she enters the final round Sunday with a 3-shot lead. They're playing threesomes all week, so she's in a grouping with Aki Ey and Brooke Henderson. And this quickly turns into a really, really entertaining day where it's kind of what you want when someone's got a 3-shot lead is Haeran's not making anything. And I'm not talking the first few holes. Haeran birdied one hole all day, and it was the 18th when she needed it, and we'll get to that. So the leader wasn't putting her foot down on the gas on a course where people had been going low. So Aki and Brooke started getting at her. Brooke really started making the charge when she went eagle hole-in-one on back-to-back holes. She also ended up eagling the 18th. She had 3 eagles in that round, 6 for the week. Tom, 6 in the week. 6 eagles. Like averaging over an eagle a round. She was 7 down to start that day. And she ends up climbing her way back in. It was really fun jockeying down the back 9 is kind of what you wanted back down watching. So she goes eagle hole-in-one on the 7th and 8th hole. By the back 9, it was definitely a 3-woman race. Everybody else had kind of backpedaled enough to leave it to those 3 to clear off the stage for them. Brooke, after doing so much work to get into it, had a really nasty 3-putt lip out on 11. Haeran didn't look bad by my eye. She just wasn't sharp. She was just missing a fairway and just missing a green or missing on the wrong side. And her lag putts were fine because she was parring everything. Again, she came out, she bogeyed one of the first couple holes, and then she parred in until she birdied 18. But after Brooke bogeys 11, Haeran has clutch par putts on 9, 10, 11. Aki ties the lead on 15. Brooke ties the lead on 16. Brooke gives the lead right back on 17. And now at this point, I think you and I are at the golf course on the putting green getting ready. Brooke eagles 18. Again, this is the fireworks hole that Grace Kim made history last year. It definitely makes itself available for drama if someone's ready to hit the shots. Brooke hits her approach, her second shot on the par 5 to within 6-7 feet. Setting that stage, Haeran and Aki had a 1-shot lead over Brooke on the 18th green. Brooke putts first and cashes the eagle to get to 19 under. Haeran and Aki are at 18, both needing their birdie putts to force a playoff. Aki misses. Haeran makes hers for her first birdie of the day, the most important time she needs that putt. Reminiscent of when she needed putts last time at KPMG, she made the putts. And then somewhat anticlimactically, they go back and play the 18th again as the playoff hole. Brooke missed the fairway on her drive, making her have to lay up on that par 5. Long story short, Haeran then birdies the hole. Brooke pars. Haeran wins her second major in 13 days. And as we said earlier, climbs to number 3 in the world. And now we find ourselves, Tom, in a season where there have been 4 majors won by 2 people. Nelly's got 2 and Haeran's got 2. The AIG Women's Open is in less than 2 weeks. We got ourselves a rubber match. Now, do I expect one of them to win it? Probably not. The odds are against it, especially Nelly doesn't have a great track record at AIG. Haeran actually is maybe a decent bet on that. But how fun is that in sports to have, like, in the same season, just 2 clearly dominant performers in the big events and still have one more to go?
That's fantastic. Like, I mean, I didn't see this coming. I didn't see that, Nelly's biggest competitor right now would be Haeran Yu. There's something to be said for building such a huge lead, after round 3, because she shot par yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And kind of reminiscent of what Wyndham Clark did a few weeks ago, where, you just come out of the gates blazing and you build this huge lead, and now you're just kind of holding it. Thought it would be a little bit anticlimactic, but people ended up making kind of a good tournament out of it. I wonder if maybe she was playing a little bit safe and not going for pins again. I didn't really watch much of it just because the time was so crazy, and right now you're just seeing all these highlights of her or whatever. But those holes are just as important. It's one of those things where you go, oh, clutch time near the end, but if you build yourself a big enough pad, you can kind of take it a little bit easier and play a little bit smarter. Smart golf usually is more rewarding, I would think. I mean,
another thing we should talk about on the back half of our own golf games. But you're right. I mean, it's what I love about golf is that it's 4 rounds, right? Like, you have to put together a full collection of golf across 4 days, and you cannot sustain what Haeran did on Saturday, right? Otherwise, people would be shooting 40 under all the time. Like, it's not possible. And to watch them go through the ebbs and valleys, and then, like you said, like, you build the lead. Now you have the lead, and you have to sleep on the lead. To your question earlier, do you play that day differently because you have that lead? You play to the center of greens. Haeran's post-round interviews were like, my putter was cold. I couldn't make anything. Again, she didn't look bad. She just didn't look sharp. But her B-plus game was enough to get it done on a day where everyone else, look, the person she went to a playoff with was 7 shots back. Like, someone had to do something pretty special just to force a playoff. So if you're Haeran and you've only got one person within 3 shots of you, or at least Aki in that case, I have trouble figuring out a reason why you would play super aggressive on a day like that. You kind of have to do the come and get me round. And if they come and get you, you gotta turn on the jets. This is the first
to get so hot to turn on the jets herself. And just to come up short, and it's like, well, yeah, because she was 4 under after round 1, and then she was, even though that's an incredible round, trying to catch somebody going 1 under the round 2, and then being so far back from Haeran, it's a big hill to climb.
I mean, if Brooke wins that playoff, this goes down as one of the best comebacks in women's golf history. She had a hole-in-one in the final round. Like, you and I have a long-running bit about hole-in-ones, right? Or holes-in-one, right? Are they important? Because usually they're for someone's round that's not competitive in the tournament. It's kind of like, oh, earlier today, what you didn't see before we came on air was Mark hit a hole-in-one on the 14th hole, and he finished T57, right? The fact that she needed that hole-in-one on the heels of an eagle the hole before, to early in a round get that momentum at a place she's already won, and she is very much a tournament favorite of the fans on site. Like, that's everything you want. The chase down, the epic shots to make the chase down happen. Like I said, if she goes on and wins this tournament, we are having a very spirited discussion this morning about where that fits on the pantheon of finishes, which makes me go back to, you texted me earlier in the week about, hey, didn't you say you don't like low scores? Like, how do you feel about this? There is something about Evian. It's not the best major. It's people think of it as the fifth major. Shit, I think of it as the fourth at this point because I think Chevron has its own issues. But there's something about what this tournament creates. We saw what happened yesterday with Brooke, Haeran, and Aki. We obviously talk ad nauseum about what Grace Kim did. You look at the list of past winners, the cream always rises. Yeah, there were some low score. There were a lot of low scores, and again, there was a lack of conditions. But if there's 5 majors a year, I'm okay with Evian being the one that maybe is a little bit different because I do still feel there were punishments out there. I do still feel like if you missed your spot, there were some severe runoffs and you had some weird chips. There were a couple areas where the rough was grown up so high that it didn't matter whether you blew it over the green or just barely. Like it just was just going to settle in the rough 6 inches off the green and in the thick stuff. But the amount of weird side hill lies, like I don't know if you like anytime I turned on the TV and saw someone in the fairway, the ball was either below their feet, above their feet. Like that course was so sloped that I wish I had a better defense for it from a statistical perspective, but there's some reason that this course I give a pass to when every other week I'm like, another birdie fest. There was something about the viewing of this that passed the smell test for me, and I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I get that. I do like that. Some that the majors should be a little bit more or a little bit more difficult for these players. And of course, like this, where they know that they're going to be one of the majors for years and years, like they can kind of toy with things and see like if things didn't work this year, they can try again next year with something new. Get weird with it. Make it tough. I don't recall what Grace Kim's final score was at the end of last season when she won this, but shooting 19 unders, that was surprising to me. I wasn't expecting something like that for a major.
Me neither. And again, you had to shoot 60 on Saturday to do it, and then someone had to go eagle. Have 3 eagles in the final round to tie it. Like that's just exceptional stuff. A few notable things that happened outside of obviously that triumvirate of players in the final grouping. Lydia Ko went out in 30 on the front 9 and made it very interesting. I always love when Lydia makes a leaderboard better because I think Lydia's on the short list of 3 or 4 players that are known in the world of sport beyond the tight-knit LPGA world. So I think we say, Lydia Ko's in it. I think that's a good thing for people checking leaderboards. Gino played really well Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and she was in contention. Actually, after Friday, I was feeling really good about my pick. She tripled the 9th hole. It's weird to see an 8 on a professional scorecard. You and I saw plenty of them yesterday on our own scorecards, but Gino tripled the 9th and just kind of it knocked her out of it. That's a bummer. I would have liked to have seen her at least be in chase distance like Brooke, but she was already chasing, and that was her undoing. I mentioned Lottie was the second round leader. She faded on the weekend. She went 72-73. Not what she's looking for. We have a lot of picks coming up. We're on the European swing right now. Obviously, we're just finishing up in France. We're now going to the Scottish Open in 2 weeks. There's no tournament this week. The Scottish Open is where Lottie won last year and put herself on the map. And then we're going to the AIG. Just remember, for both of our sake, look out. Like, she's had a year under her belt. She is no longer going to courses where she hasn't seen them. She has now seen every course on the rotation. She even said it in her Evian press conference, as this is the first time she didn't have to do as much homework on the course because she has played it. That's going to be true the rest of the way. So when she goes to play Scottish, she's got some pretty good memories of having won it last year. I wouldn't be surprised if one of us has Lottie in a pick in the next couple weeks because we'd be silly not to look at her. She's not going to be happy with the weekend she had, but her game is obviously trending. Charlie also faded on the weekend. Charlie was very competitive in the opening rounds, but didn't have it over the weekend. Maya Stark, this is a stat that just has your name all over it. She's the first person in history of Evian to birdie all 5 par 3s in one round. Think about how many 2s that is.
That seems like something that you might be able to do in a full weekend to get 5 birdies on on 20 par 3s, but in one round, that's immaculate. That's incredible.
I kind of want to go back and see how many of them are like just dropping long bomb putts versus just sticking everything within inside 10 feet. Like, was she just ball striking the heck out of it? I need to go back and look to see kind of in what form those birdies took. Was she just on a heater with her putter, or was she just striking the ball, or was it a mix of the two?
Which day was this? Was this like
final round?
So yeah. The hardest pin placement, you would think.
Not necessarily. So again, they have the ability to change pin placements and stuff up until the night before and the morning of. They kind of look to see what the spacing on the leaderboard is. So when they see that there's a large lead, they make it scoreable because they want people to chase. If it's tight, they would have tightened up the course and tucked some pins more. Look, they're still very hard pins regardless, but they do have the ability to put some pins in more accessible places where there's slopes and things that feed it because they want to see some volatility in action. They do have that flexibility to do it, and so they can be somewhat responsive to the leaderboard.
Got it.
Just kind of going down the leaderboard, obviously we've talked about Haeran Brook. Just a finer point on Aki. She lost it after the round, just crying beyond belief in her post-round presser. But just in a very, very passionate, empathetic, she just cared so much and she played so well. She made it known she wants fans to know who she is. Like, I think she cares a lot about it. We've always said she and Chizzy are very outgoing with the way they share on social media. I think Aki wants to be known but not somehow it comes off in a very endearing, non-selfish way. But it just meant a lot to her. It was just a very, very honest post-round presser with her. Your girl Miyu shot a final round 66 to finish T4. Mao Saigo sighting. We haven't really seen her since she won the Chevron. Her whole weekend, her whole tournament was 66, 68, 67, 68. Like, that's just good golf. She just played really, really smart. A couple other notes. Jin Hee Im was the other one tied for fourth. At T7 alongside Lydia Ko, Anna Nordqvist. Anna Nordqvist, the European Solheim Cup captain, no, not player, captain, who has really in recent interviews said she's playing well and just has not been getting the results. She finally got it together. She shot 69, 68, 68, 66 on Sunday. She was also pretty emotional in her post-round presser, just saying, God, this feels like I earned it. I will say a reporter took the swing and said, are you going to consider taking yourself on the Solheim Cup team, giving her the Keegan Bradley treatment? Tom, she did not shove it away as quick as I thought she would. I thought after the Keegan experiment, which is exactly what it was, every Solheim Cup team captain would say, no, absolutely not. Especially someone as seasoned as Anna, who's definitely on the back half of her career. Anna said, I'm focused on the team, right? I'm just glad I played good golf. Just said all the right things, but at no point addressed the question that was directly asked of her. But she also said, like, we still have a couple weeks. So you wonder if, like, Anna goes and plays amazing at AIG, which, remember, AIG is the last week for, like, auto qualifying points and things like that. If Anna goes out and gets another top 10, it makes you wonder. Anna's not far off the list of pick candidates in terms of the way she's playing, because there's a big drop off on the European side about halfway down their team of 12.
Well, a couple things. One, that's probably good for, just the LPGA news cycle. Like, yeah, let's get that name out there, but also put the players back on their heels. Like, hey, if you don't perform, I'm going to take your spot. Not this person that you're worried about. It's me. I'm going to be the one looking you in your face saying, that spot's mine. So, yeah, you should probably get the light a fire under some of these younger players.
I'd be scared if I was Anna. If I was any Solheim Cup or Ryder Cup captain or President's Cup captain for that matter, Keegan had to answer a lot of questions that probably took away from his captaincy. I will say there's less pressure on the LPGA just because there's less eyeballs on it. But it just feels like a very risky venture to even put your name in the hat, because now it makes other people start thinking about it and talking about it, and takes away from your primary purpose, which is setting your team up to win at Bernardus in 2 months' time. So, but the story here is amazing week from Anna, like truly something I did not see coming. And then rounding out the top 10 in solo ninth, Austin Kim. Again, really wish you had drafted her and kept her on your team, because you would have got those points. And then tied for 10th, 4 people: Gino, Somi Lee, Cass Alexander, and Maya Stark. Somi keeps on sneaking in. She shot a final round 64 to get a top 10. Really, really nice week for her. And Cass Alexander, I believe, is the order of merit points leader on the Ladies European Tour. So nice showing from her when she's playing against the best in the world, not just on the European side. So a very, very entertaining week. Tournament notes, we got to talk about the viewing. Obviously, viewing in the morning is weird, right? Especially when our broadcast window was 1 to 7 a.m. I watched it on mute because I left my headphones in my daughter's room. Tom, I don't feel like I missed anything by watching it on mute, and that is not a compliment. I did not feel like I missed a single thing by not hearing the broadcaster say what was going on, because I think I know exactly what they were saying, just because they've never been that additive from broadcast perspective. The crowds were tiny, man. This is the fourth major of the year in France. It was hot. It was really hot, but underwhelming crowds on that sense. There was a point where Lydia, who again I shot was 7 under, at one point she was putting on the 15th hole to go to 8 under for the day. And there were just people straight up, like in the camera shot, Lydia in the foreground putting, people just on the far side of the green, just walking. Like there's not even a marshal in, this is a wide angle view. There's not a single marshal with their hands up telling people to stop. They're just walking behind the green. This is a living, playing Hall of Famer. Putting, trying to go 8 under on the back 9 of a major. And they're just walking somewhere else. Just I don't know what that says about the fans that are at that tournament or the tournament itself. But when you see stuff like that, it doesn't look serious.
I did text you that there was a France World Cup game, and that was, I think, starting at like 9 p.m. local time. And I do wonder so you don't think that makes much of a difference, where like maybe I'm not going to spend my entire day on a golf course knowing I'm going to stay up late to watch my national team.
The Venn diagram of people thinking of going to an LPGA golf tournament and watching a France World Cup game, I do not think is much overlap.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's sweet that you want to believe that the World Cup is the reason there weren't people at the LPGA event. But considering they were, what did you just say, 13 hours apart? And again, like it's not like they were going to the game. The game was in the States. Like it's just a viewing experience. It's not like France was on tilt because they were hosting a World Cup game. Like that, you could have got me. That sure. Maybe. But at 5 a.m. exactly, so this is Sunday, final round, right before I get on the road to come see you and play golf. I've been watching for an hour. For the first time in over an hour, they show back to back to back Miyu, Gino, and Charlie for the first time. I went an hour of broadcast time without seeing the number 2 and 5 player in the world and the person who had the best round on the course, Miyu, at the time. They were just showing the one grouping of Brooke, Aki, and Haeran. I was like, how have you not given me context of, at least tell me why I'm not seeing Charlie, which is, hey, she's, shooting par and she's not going to chase. It was a very, very obvious example of there's just only so many cameras on the course at an LPGA event. That was tough. And then just some miscuts that obviously we always want to cover. The most notable miscut there possibly could be while Haeran is going to win her second major. The other person with 2 majors, Nelly Korda, big nothing. Played horrible on Thursday. She historically this course has gotten to her mentally, and she has said as much. She said she still hasn't figured it out. I don't know what that means. I don't know why the best ball striker in the world can't still figure out a way to make a cut. I don't need her to win, but that you can't be winning 2 majors and missing cuts at others. That's just way too volatile for me. It makes me a little concerned about what's going on. Again, I don't expect her to win Evian because Evian's a weird course. We just documented that, but you got to make cuts. Gabby Lopez, who had just been hunting majors, kind of fell out. Allison Corpuz, who'd been in the mix in every major, she fell out. Lauren Coughlin, not a good year. We've been talking about a lot of miscuts for Lauren. Hannah Green, Chizzy, meanwhile, while her sister's fighting for the lead, Chizzy misses the cut. Grace Kim, the defending champ, missed the cut. You kind of almost saw that coming. There's just so much pressure on the defending champ and kind of the responsibility she has off the course outside the ropes that week. And then Minjee Lee, another miscut. So Minjee's been very all over the map this year. Not a great list of miscuts. What do you make of Nelly missing that cut?
I thought it was nice that she at least made like a Sports Center headline, like, "Oh, Nelly and Scotty miss like the 2 number 1s in the world miss a tournament." I think I saw that was the first time ever that happened. Like on the
world number 1 in men and women missed the cut on the same week.
Yeah, so it's nice to be compared. I guess that's a good thing.
That's a bad week to be compared.
That is a little concerning. I mean, we did say that, her schedule has now kind of taken off and she's a lot busier than she was before. Like after she won out in LA, it's like, okay, now we're doing a whirlwind trip to New York and you're going on Good Morning America and you're doing this and this. And I hope that, none of that is really interfering with her performance. Maybe this is kind of like a wake up call. Like, let's take a step back. Let's like really get focused for the AIG because I'm guessing, Nelly obviously wants to win, but number 2, she probably doesn't want Haeran winning again because then this is like kind of her year, right? This isn't Nelly's anymore because going, the first half of the season, it was only Nelly. That's all anybody was talking about. And now it's like we have a new competitor out here. And while that might be what we're looking for out here, that's probably not what Nelly's looking for.
It's a really interesting question of, like you said, after the first two major, like this was the year of Nelly. We were saying, what better thing could we as fans have possibly asked for in America that the most marketable American star wins the first two majors, has a chance to talk about winning a third, and start to maybe break a little bit of those boundaries of who and where the LPGA is spoken about. As much as I personally like Haeran, is there anything possibly worse than for the marketability year of Nelly than for someone else to win multiple majors? Because now all of a sudden, what Nelly's done has been nullified. Nelly went from having done something unprecedented to like, yeah, someone did it within a 13-day span right after her. They won two. And now, yeah, all of a sudden what Nelly did doesn't sound as historic because someone did it right on the heels of it. To your point earlier, you had not heard of Haeran going into this year, and while she was a top 15 player in the world, that's not going to help with marketability right now. Now, people are going to know her now, but what you wanted from day one is if I told you two people are going to win two majors, and I told you that in January, how many guesses would it have taken for you to get to Haeran? 50?
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked her because I'd never heard of her. I mean, going down the list, I would have eventually gotten to her because she's ranked highly, but no, I was thinking Nelly and maybe Gino. What I'm interested in now is like, who's favored to win AIG?
Right.
I mean, I would still think it'd be Nelly, but Haeran just won the last two. And unless this is something where it's going to be, fatigue and all this pressure is going to get to her, kind of into Nelly, that's going to be a pretty interesting race here.
Any other major, I would agree with you. AIG is link style golf. It is just nothing similar to the courses Nelly been beating up on the women's circuit in the States. She has never won an AIG. I think there's a very good chance we have a repeat of last year in terms of betting odds, and Lottie is the betting favorite. Remember, she had just turned pro and she was the betting favorite at the AIG. That's nuts, and was way too much pressure on her at that point. But I think Lottie will be the betting favorite, especially coming off a week where Nelly misses the cut. I don't think that Nelly will not be the runaway favorite. Betting odds, if like they're sports book style, they're still going to put some heavy weight on that. I think there's going to be some mix of Lottie, Charlie, Nelly, and Haeran. I would think would be your top four, with Lottie and Charlie because of them having the local roots in the UK. So we should definitely check on that. Sometimes it's hard to find women's sportsbook betting opportunities, but I am curious who will be the betting favorite based on everything you just said.
Yeah, the odds will be out there probably when we do our preview. Nothing concrete just yet.
So speaking of who people are going to be picking, Tom, how did you feel about the performance of your pick this week?
Sometimes, like after round 3, Haeran had this huge lead, and there's two ways to go. Either you play it safe or you just take wild swings. She played it safe. I took a wild swing.
I don't fault you for your pick. You chose someone who had a very specific course history at Evian. What I have since learned, and it makes a lot of sense, is that course is very different in the spring than it is in the heat of summer because of how much it firms up and the differences there. And they'd even made some course tweaks during that time. So Helen played on and won a very different golf course, it sounds like. But still, there's going to be good vibes coming into it. You could have given me 50 guesses and I would have never guessed you were going to go Helen Bream. I like the swing you took because, imagine the bragging rights you'd have right now if Helen Bream took down Gino. Like that you would just be a pig in slop.
That's kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah. So obviously I chose Gino. I was really liking that pick in terms of a winning opportunity after the second round. Again, we mentioned she faded on the weekend. So I'm going to get first pick at the Scottish next week when we do our picks. Again, another big week because the winner of that will get first pick at the final major of the year, the AIG. You mentioned our other game, our season-long draft. We re-racked last week and swapped a player or two. My one player swap, I dropped to you let me know and picked up Haeran.
So good move by you.
Yelimi missed the cut. Haeran won the event. So that was a 26-point swing. When you think about the -6 I would have got for Yelimi. And then obviously I also have Gino who top 10, Lydia who top 10. Actually, surprisingly, I didn't get any points out of Lottie, who was the second round leader, but I also have Aki on my team. So I'm very glad I did not accept your trade for Chizzy for Aki, because your Chizzy missed the cut. I did make up some ground. You still have a giant lead. You had a 109-point lead again. The horrific stats were 91 to -18 going into this past week. It is now a much more respectable. I don't have it in front of me, but I think I closed that gap from 110 points to like 60. So a good week for me. If I do it again, if Haeran does it again, we could actually have a very fun fight down the stretch here. Well, where are we going next?
Mark, I have a game for you. One of the things that we've talked about in the past is, there just aren't that many big names in the LPGA as far as like a fan interaction goes. And it got me thinking, who are the most followed LPGA players, personalities on tour via Instagram? I pulled a handful of players on Instagram, and I want you, I'm doing 6 right now. I want you to rank who has the most followers to who has the least followers.
Okay.
So your 6 are going to be, in alphabetical order, Charlie Hull, 2-time major winner, Haeran Yu, the LPGA Tour in general, their official account.
Okay.
Mooney He, Nelly Corda, and the USGA.
Wow. And
now, here are their numbers. So the first person has 1.5 million followers, followed by 1.2, 1 million, 839K, 768K, and then 13,000.
Wow. Okay, so there's a unique curveball here with Haeran because of her Korean heritage. I know the Japanese contingent have major followers because golf is such a bigger deal in Asia than it is here. So while I would think no one knows Haeran here in the States, I wonder, it's probably not as low as I think. She's maybe not as low on the list as I would think she is because there's probably a big Korean contingent that follows her. I'm going to start with what I would be most confident in would be Nelly at the top at 1.5 million. It's funny, where I go next is who's at the bottom, and you said the bottom was like 13,000?
Yes.
And this is Instagram only.
Instagram only.
I would think that would be the LPGA Tour. I just think the tour itself only has so many followers compared to individuals. But man, that's a big gap because the next lowest one is 700,000.
Yes. So 768K is the next lowest.
Okay. So there's 3 of them that are over 1 million. Who do I think those 3 are? All right, let's go Nelly 1.5, Charlie 1.2, Haeran 1 million, and then USGA 839,000, Muni 768,000, and the LPGA 13,000.
All right. I need some Price is Right music. I need
how many out of 6 did I get?
0.
Oh,
0.
Yes, great game.
So the least amount of followers, which will absolutely be changing soon, is Haeran Yu.
Oh no.
Yeah. She'll be getting some.
Do you this is an honest question. Is there a Korean social media platform?
Great question. They're very well. I just don't know.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
LPGA Tour is the next lowest.
Okay.
Only 768K. Charlie, surprisingly, 839K.
Okay.
I actually made this list like a week ago when I double checked it this morning. She gained 2,000 followers this past week, so
nice.
Trending in the right direction. USGA has the 1 million,
okay.
So obviously that brings in some PGA fans as well. Big drum roll. Number 1 is Muni He with 1.5 million. She has more than Nelly. So
wow.
I was trying to compare her to like Alex Morgan or Caitlin Clark or somebody like that. Alex Morgan's at like 9 million or something, and Caitlin Clark has, she's in the double digits already too. So while Nelly is by far our most popular LPGA fan in the U.S., Muni He is leading the charge for players worldwide.
God. And she's ranked 355th in the world.
Right.
No career wins, 3 career top tens. She goes by Lily. That is, we're going to be releasing an interview in the next couple weeks with Olivia Cowan. This is who Olivia said would be her go-to fashion person. So I wonder if maybe her following is much more of an off the course interest.
When Olivia mentioned that, I said, "Oh yes, I think it definitely has to do with maybe her fashion forward posts."
All right, Tom. Next episode, I want a Lily Munihi bio. Okay,
that's your
homework.
Deep dive. That's going to be our next on the
yeah.
tee.
I don't need a full deep dive, but I need you to learn about her. And I know she played in the mid 2010s, 2015, somewhere in there. She was at USC, but outside of that, I don't know her. I don't know. I'm not familiar with her game, so I want to know if she has any and why she's so famous. That's good stuff, man. I'm not sure if you had told me in advance. All right, how many of these are you going to get right? I certainly wouldn't have guessed all of them. I would have guessed I got at least 2 of those. So that's a sign of a good game right there. Well done. I was sitting up last night prepping for this and was thinking about the LPGA, and I was going on the app, and the load screen on the LPGA is just kind of their white logo on a blue background. And I was saying, I wonder who that is, just because so many logos are right silhouettes of somebody doing something. NBA, you always think of Jerry West, which again, best nickname of all time is just the logo, right? Who do you think that is, Tom?
Oh boy, I'm gonna guess Annika Sorenstam.
It is clip art.
Okay.
It is. I know. That's why I asked you. There was no way you were going to guess it because it's nobody. It is just a logo. I'm going to give this a C- look. This logo. I've always thought that's as they continue to up their brand, that's maybe one of the things that could get attention. How do you feel about logos being generic versus modeled after somebody?
I don't mind a generic logo. Like, is the MLB logo a specific person? I don't think so. Now, what are we comparing this to? Like the NHL and the NFL just have shields as their logos?
Yeah, if it's going to be a person, I'm just curious. Like, would you prefer to know that there's kind of like an inside backstory that it's Kathy Whitworth or it's Annika Sorenstam or whatever? If it was going to be, I'd love to know the selection criteria for how you go about figuring out who's going to be the logo after 75 years of this being an organization.
See, that's the big issue. Like at some point, you just got to say there's just too many options, and we're going to really upset a lot of people if we just choose somebody out of the blue. Yeah. Not out of the blue, but one of the let's Founders. Say a handful of decent options. Yeah, I think it would probably just cause too many waves. The logo does really scream like 90s to me. Like I feel like I used to have like a peachy folder with figurines that kind of look like that.
And a Trapper Keeper.
Oh yeah, they could definitely do some updating to the logo. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I don't know why it just caught my eye as I was staring at the load screen and just thought, huh. Okay, well, we mentioned we golfed yesterday. We played a fun game with our 2 buddies. We divided up into teams and gave everybody a few strokes, and ended up after it was all said and done, just straight up, we tied at the end of 18 holes, which means we did something right in terms of dividing and conquering. But Tom, it was a weird day of golf. I'm not really sure how to describe it. What do you want to recap from yesterday, and what do you want to forget?
It was an odd round because going into it, you did say like, "Hey Tom, what do you think you're going to shoot?" And I guessed, let's say bogey golf, I'm going to shoot a 90. I started the first 6 holes with bogeys, so I was, right on it. Yeah, my tee shots none of my tee shots were that great, but then I was really making up for it, elsewhere. I would spray a drive here and there and then just kind of get like a nice up and down and leave myself a pickup bogey, which I would eventually, long for those bogeys. I took a few train rides to Quad City. I think I did that twice, which was not usually something that I do. They were really more just like absolute blow-ups where I just hit like a bad tee shot into
twice.
A lake. and
Yeah.
just got really upset. I said, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to fucking tee up and I'm going to do it again. And then I did the same thing. So there were a couple times where I was, dropping for five and, hitting still 300 yards out, just stuff like that. I let myself blow up a few times, but also at the same time, there were two different times where I was like 200 yards out and I pull a 5-iron and I walk up to my ball and then I stop myself and verbally say, we are not doing this. And I go put my 5-iron back and then I go and I pull out a 7 or even like a 9 and I go, I'm just going to get it halfway there and leave myself with a good in.
Because
And
you couldn't carry a bunker or something, you mean? You didn't want to go for the green?
it was more like there were crazy trees in the way, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm not gonna like if I don't hit this perfectly, exactly what I want to do, it's gonna go underneath some trees. I'm gonna wreck myself and just get even more upset with myself.
That's right.
There were some smart moments for me. There were some very dumb moments for me. There were some very arrogant moments for me. Just like a normal round, my normal.
It was weird to be a witness to your round yesterday because you are most, without question, the best golfer of the four of us on a consistent basis. You certainly play the most golf. I was thinking about this morning. We split up. We weren't in the same cart. I was riding with our buddy Brian, who I immediately have more fun on a golf course if I ride with Brian. Because Brian is admittedly the worst of the four of us, but the success of his game has zero bearing on whether he enjoys the day out there. And I have taken a lot from that over the years of what makes me enjoy golf, what makes me not enjoy the day. And I've tried to limit the latter. And I was talking to Brian midway through the round while you had just had one of those holes that you just spoke of, that you just kind of had compounding things happen. I know exactly where you were yesterday because I think if you rewind the clock 5 or 6 years ago, you will remember what playing golf with me was like when I was most certainly the best golfer of the four of us. I was playing the most golf. And at that time, like our group, the three of you weren't really playing any type or frequently either. So there was kind of a big gap in just knowledge and course awareness and all of those things. Like we were all kind of still learning golf, I would say, at the time. And I can remember everything being very important to me of a missed putt. I had such high expectations. If I didn't hit a club on the number and was short, it was very easy to set me off. Not to the point of like chucking clubs, but just being angry the rest of the time and then starting to chirp back at people if someone said like nice shot. Be like, what do you mean nice shot? It was horrible. Like I still have pieces of that, but I was doing that every shot. And I remember watching yesterday saying, because I stopped playing golf for so long, I do have a greater appreciation of just being out there. Like at no point yesterday was I anything other than just stoked that I was with my three best buddies playing golf. Whether I was having one nice streak of golf, which I had for 4 holes yesterday, or whether I was doubling a hole. And I was thinking, I know exactly where Tom is because that was me the first 30 years I played golf, and I've just been different for 5 years. I don't know what the lesson here is. I just remember thinking yesterday, your overall enjoyment of the day that you showed, whether you were feeling or not is one thing, but what you externally showed to us was very caught up with how good your golf was. Because I think you do have fun. You just take golf seriously because you want to be good. And that's exactly what I remember is I wanted to be so good at golf. And it was so fun when golf was good. And I was super fun to play with when I played good golf. But that was really not all that often. And all of a sudden, the most of the time that I wasn't playing good golf, I don't think I was that fun to be around. And I put like 90% of that credit to Brian because he's like, I don't care if I shoot well. And I don't know why you should care whether I play well, good or not. Cause I don't care whether you triple or you birdie. Like I'll give you some praise if you do something good. But for the most part, like I just want to hear the next funny joke someone's going to say. And quite honestly, that happens more when we play bad.
All of that is very well said, especially with somebody like Brian, because, he's just kind of so even keeled. I mean, I gotta imagine that Joel wasn't having the best time next to me when I, duff another shot and then I come and I slam my club into the bag and I jump in the cart and what do you want to listen to now? This music's obviously not working for me. That's probably not the most fun experience, I would guess. This was actually the third round I played in 6 days, and they were all so vastly different. Like I talked to you about playing Goat Hill Monday by myself, and I just rushed through it, and I ended up doing very well. I played a few days later with some baseball friends, and I would think a little bit more enjoyable. I wasn't taking myself super duper seriously because I didn't have the expectations. I played at a course I'd never played before, and I was a little bit more reserved. If I wasn't being arrogant where like, that was a bad shot, I know I can hit it better. And then I try to do something and just compound my errors. I think maybe just because I feel so comfortable with you and Mark and Joel, I mean, you and Brian and Joel, that I'm willing to do that kind of stuff. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should kind of chill out a little bit more. My wife did text me and said, "Are you coming home after that round?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't know." And then I walked in. She goes, "Do you want to talk about it?" I said, "No, I don't."
Whoa, is she checking your score?
She goes, well, no, because she texted me and she's like, "Oh, how did it go?" And I said, "Not great. Well, it was horrible." And she goes, "Oh, so do you want to talk about it?" I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, I want to talk about it. You had a horrible round." I go, "I don't want to talk about it."
Isn't it funny when you say, "Do you want to talk about it?" It's usually because the person who's asking the question wants to hear about it.
Worse.
Yeah.
And then my kids want to ask about it, and I go, "Don't worry about it."
Our wives couldn't be more different. My wife is like, she doesn't care about a blow by blow. She certainly, like, my wife knows golf. She watches golf with me every weekend, but she has no interest in knowing how many bogeys and birdies I had. So and I think this plays into what I just said about Brian. My wife was like, "How was golf?" And my answer was like, "Super fun." And she was like, "Oh, how'd you play?" I was like, "Total Jekyll and Hyde." That was the end of the discussion. Like, period. That's exactly what happened yesterday. And because like, I have no interest in reliving shot by shot. You and I do this every week for the LPGA. No one wants to hear about bad golf broken down hole by hole. Now, if something funny happens, we can relive it. But yesterday was just a weird day. I do think you and Joel are a good pair because Joel is one of the more competitive people. So I think Joel responds better to you if you're not playing well. I think Joel, as your best friend, also knows how to handle you at all times. But
it was nice that we had the partner game going as well. It kept things a little bit more interesting because you at some point just kind of ran away with things, and at least it kind of gave us something to play for.
Most of our time is spent trying to figure out, hey, it's been a month since we've seen each other. Can we meet up again next month? Like, it's so much more about
where
the
we
time
get breakfast
spent.
burritos.
Yeah. Brian was talking about breakfast burritos before the turn. Like it was, and it became just like the mantra of like breakfast burritos. But we did, we had our moments where we played smart golf. God, we do need to have a round, Tom, where we have to figure out when this makes the most sense. We're both going to play, and we're both playing smart golf, and we're going to agree on what smart golf looks like. Just because I will always go back to this random episode of No Laying Ups. They did a series and they took the pins out of the hole. So when you're in the fairway, you do not know where the cup is. And it was teaching them to hit the ball in the center of the green because that is the safe play regardless of where that is. And again, you could do that without taking out the pins, just say play to the center of every green. But there is something about the visual gravity a pin has, right? Of like drawing your eye. But I do think it would be fun for us to go out there and plot the course in a way we think would be smart. But allow for the volatility of, we didn't realize we were going to top this drive. It then changes something else up along the way.
It might not one of the worst rounds in a very long time for me. And I'm already looking at like 550 tee times for this week because I want to go out and redeem myself. So
the other thing I will say that you mentioned earlier that is worth calling out, there was no way your third round in a week was going to be your best round. Because I don't know about you, but when I start playing golf, the more I play, the more I start thinking. In the beginning, you come back, you've only got a couple of swing thoughts. You're probably just excited to be out there. Over the course of the two previous rounds, you'd already figured out, hey, I've been missing my drives this way, or I've been doing this. You already had like so much scar tissue, good or bad, from the previous rounds. Like you're just going to start overthinking it. There was no way you were going to play 3 rounds. I would love for you to tell me the next time you play 3 rounds in a week when the third round is your best. I don't think it will ever happen.
Yeah, no, all very good points. I will hopefully report back with some good news next episode.
Congrats again to Haeran for a second major in 2 weeks. We now have a really interesting set of storylines heading into Royal Lytham and St. Anne's for the AIG in a couple weeks. We'll be back next week with a bit of a preview, but I think we're going to have an interview next week as well. So stay tuned for a very, very fun interview we did. And I think that's all I got, man.
Cool. If you have suggestions for players or topics to discuss on the podcast, send us an email to fringecoverage@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at FringeCoveragePod. And whether you're approaching from the fairway or the rough, we got you covered inside the fringe.